his own skill, capability, judgment, and resources actually to meet the need and to achieve a set goal, right?
All right.
It actually involves having confidence in yourself, right?
Okay.
To make decisions independently without an external body,
Okay.
be able to solve problems that you see and take responsibility actually for your actions and the outcomes that would come afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is basically what self-reliance is. However, I must stress that self-reliance could actually be divided into two, right? The one you ought to have as a citizen, as an individual,
Okay.
looking inwards for what you possess or what you have to harness, just so
Okay.
that you can actually have a certain level of independence
Yes.
and to be able to thrive in an economy where maybe every other thing from the external isn't working for you.
Okay.
Then you have another part, which is the government part of being self-reliant.
Yes.
The part of the government, we know the definition of government being all inclusive for the people, by people, and even the leaders and everything.
Yeah.
This particular part of self reliance has to do with looking inwards for the country's resources, for leadership, and just everything
Yeah.
that it needs to, that the country needs to help us thrive as a nation.
Okay.
So this is basically what self-reliance is.
All right. Thank
Yeah.
you very much, Mr. Kamal. All right, Mr. Obasi, would you just want to throw more light on that, in addition to what your colleague has said?
All right. When it comes to self-reliance, as he has said, it is two parts: personal self-reliance, and as a nation, we ought to be self-reliant.
Okay.
Being self-reliant doesn't mean that we become an island. It doesn't mean that we don't seek for support and help and partner with other people, but it means that to a large degree we should
Okay.
be able to find resources within, human resources, skills as a resource, and all that necessary things that makes for our being sufficient enough as a nation and as a people and as a person. So personally, it is important that we are self-reliant, and as a nation, it is important too that we are self-reliant. Show me a country and a people who have learned to be self-reliant. I'll show you people who will thrive no matter how unstable the economy is. Yes.
That's quite provocative, very thought provoking, I must say. Now, when we talk about self reliance, you just established the fact that it's not just about, oh, I have to be on my own or I have to operate in isolation. Why is self reliance important? Why exactly is it important, especially in this economic tough times?
Now, one of the reasons why self-reliance is important is, as an individual in an economy whereby you see that jobs are scarce, for example, in an economy whereby you see that external support systems are not so forthcoming.
Yeah.
As someone who is self-reliant, you can be able to find yourself something to do. You can be able to be creative. You can be able to be skillful. You can be able to be valuable. When you are self-reliant, you will teach yourself to be valuable. You will teach yourself to be of value to people, and then you can be rewarded for it.
Okay.
But someone who is not self-reliant cannot thrive, because they will be dependent on resources from other
The
people for
people.
them to thrive. But when you are self-reliant, be rest assured that you have your own economic stability, because you are valuable enough. You have trained yourself enough to be skillful enough and then valuable to other people, and then you can be rewarded. You see that?
Yes, it's actually like you trying to know that you're doing something for yourself, so that even if help is going to come, at least you have found doing something. You have found standing up for yourself already.
Yeah.
But you said something that pricked my curiosity. The fact that you said, I do not know. I'm trying to paraphrase what you said.
Yeah.
That even when, like, maybe resources are not available or given
Yeah.
to you or something like
Yeah,
that, there is
yeah.
something you made mention of.
Yeah.
Is it possible to be self-reliant without help, like those resources?
Yes, it is true to a very large degree.
Okay.
You also said something that even if help should come from outside, it should meet you doing something.
Yeah.
And that should now add to what you're doing and you go up higher. Now, when you want to start, as someone who is self reliant, let's say you come into a place like Abuja, you have a skill, you've learned a skill, let's say
Yeah.
graphic designing, for example. The next thing you ought to learn, if you've learned that skill, the next thing you ought to learn is to find people who need the skill that you have and can reward you for it.
Okay.
So you start with your closest community. Who are the people that have business that needs graphic designers? Who are the people that want to wear that need someone to design their? You see that now. So
Yeah.
now you have a skill that you've picked up, skill that you've learned by yourself by watching YouTube videos and all of that, or learning from a mentor. So now you have someone who will reward you for that skill. So you simply do what they ask and they pay you for that. You see that? Then
Yeah.
when you start moving forward and you need more resources to establish, that is when you now need help from more people.
Yes.
See.
All right. Talking about skills acquisition, I know that it's actually something that everyone should do, no matter how educated and everything you are. You should have something outside of the classroom. You should have that extracurricular skill. But people would argue that it's not easy to just get skilled. It's not easy to just have this skill. You need resources, you need funds, you need money to go learn, because as much as you're saying the DIY, go to YouTube and stuff, data is still needed.
Yes.
There are some Nigerian youths that at this point they cannot even afford 1 gigabyte of data. It's the fact, it's reality. So what is in place to ensure that this journey of self-reliance, these people are supported, at least pushed to a point before they get to that place of independence?
Alright, thank you very much. And I'd like to say that that's an absolutely fantastic question.
Of
because
course.
a lot of times we try to push individuals to places without giving them directions as to how to get there. So it becomes really cumbersome, the process of them getting there. However, it's important to note that out there are lots of things, right, you can actually engage yourself with, and you could raise a lot of money.
Okay.
Unfortunately for us youth, especially in this country, we aren't ready to get into the mud.
Okay.
We try to stay long enough complaining about the things that were not fed to our mouth, as opposed to stepping out to see the reality. I fell within that category at some point. Every time I waited for an individual to come and give me a head start before I could follow, I never searched within for the things that I could do. In all honesty, we know, everybody ought to know the terrain, right, that we are in. If you know you do not have money, you wouldn't just want to start something that would entail you having lots of money.
Lots of
Okay.
capital
Right?
stuff,
There are people who are just good at because they are maybe orally sound. They are orators naturally.
Yeah.
You could do an MC job and gather money for the next phase of
Yeah.
self-reliance
Yeah.
that you
Yeah.
want to go into.
Yeah.
For instance, you want to start a podcast and you want to own a studio, right? The dream is to own a studio eventually. But you just be lying to yourself, especially in this current dispensation of things,
Yeah.
that somebody would have to come and give you money to go and do that. In all honesty, it comes hard, right? It becomes really hard for you to get there. How about starting really small? I know somebody who started with just his phone. You don't need as much resources. Video it, and if it's maybe if it comes to things that aren't so important, maybe you need to buy a new piece of cloth,
Yeah.
right? You could meet someone and then tell them about how you do not have cloth and you need something. How about showing the world the talent that you possess? And I'm very sure that there are individuals who would even support you, right? And while you grow, basically, while you start putting your contents out there, and it starts becoming appealing to people, right?
Yeah.
Definitely you grow step by step until you're able to do what you can do. We live in a community today that have the internet, for instance. On YouTube, if you have good content, people view, and then they end up paying you at the end of the day. I would like to take us back to popular comedians like the Mark Angel comedy.
Yes, how
right?
they
Emanuela,
started.
how
Yeah.
it started. You could barely see the image qualities were super poor.
Yes.
But they made use of what they had. I would like to maybe mention the Ikorodu boys that we
How
see
they
all
start-
over the
yes,
social media.
yes,
right?
yes,
They
yes.
basically use woods and everything, and they know there's maybe phones that they could beg and then they would record.
Yes.
That did not make them spend a whole lot of money, right? They searched within and started putting out the things that were of value and the things that individuals wanted to see. Later on, the encouragement came. However, it's important to note that for you to be self-reliant, then you have to be disciplined and you have to be patient. And discipline entails that you don't just end up squandering all of the money that comes your way. You have to be intentional too. You have to be intentional about saving the money. You
Yeah.
have to prioritize the things that you want to do with your money, right? And you actually have to be resilient through the period of patience, because it's never a bed of roses to individuals, even out
course,
of this
of
domain,
course, of course.
right? There are people who didn't make it just that once. Do we want to go to the KFC story? The man who stayed until he was over 60 before he started making money out of the things that he did. He just realized something. So it's creativity, it's patience, it's discipline before you will reap the fruit of your labor.
And that's right, Mr. Kamal, preaching the gospel of self-reliance right here on radio this afternoon, talking to the Nigerian youth. I think you said something, the fact that you just need to look inwards. Yes, you know, they would say finance lubricates dreams or even passion, which is very true. It's an important part of pushing your passion and your dream. But there are certain things that you necessarily do not need money to do. Just like the instance you give. I had that example in mind, as if you were in my mind. I was trying to say that you have your voice. It's your voice, right? So why not use that voice? You could just make demos, post online. There are people who just subscribe. They're not doing anything online. They're just there watching other people succeed or thrive. So why not post it, and then someone sees you, hires you as an MC, and then the next thing, before you know it, you've blown already. So I think I like the fact that you guys are preaching this message of self-reliance. But we'll talk more after we go pay our bills right here on the program.
Eagles 102.3 FM Abuja, here to stay.
From Milky Way to Earth, everywhere there's internet, you can connect with Eagles 102.3 FM Abuja. Log on to our website, www.eaglesfm.com. Follow and engage with us now on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok at Eagles FM Abuja, Instagram at Eagles FM 1023. Download and iOS stores. Eagles 102.3 FM Abuja, your radio experience you can count on.
Do you want to know about cars? Everything about cars, from purchase to maintenance and even road use. Don't go too far. Listen to Top Gear on Eagles 102.3 FM every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Top Gear, let's give you a spin.
There was no effort, He never find it difficult to put the four goals. So I think it is even the right person to tell us, because it's when you are fighting, you know the strength of your opponent. You know things the right to pick the right people. You must not be somebody who must have bribed. There are better, competent players along the street who are even looking for the opportunity.
The management is not good, because the way they are making selection of players, that is not the same. But you should give to player who's merit so that they can play well. That is why the performance is poor.
Portuguese are not our mate, let's be honest. They spend years in preparations for the World Cup, and then we are just sitting down, we just call this one, and then we'll make up a team, and then we want to go and face Portugal. It's what a shame.
A situation where they bring coaches that are fourth class or fifth class coaches. We are rich enough to hire first class coaches. It's most unfortunate. We pride ourselves as giants of Africa. We have to be the giants of Africa.
So it's one of those things. You can't blame the country for that, and you can't blame the players. But you look at the NFF in particular, they're always looking for themselves, not for the country in general.
Radio is an experience. Eagles FM 102.3 Abuja. Eagles 102.3 FM. Abuja, here to stay.
Alright, still Eagles 102.3 FM Abuja, your radio experience that you can count on. And we have been having a conversation with a very gentleman right here in the studio, talking about the need for self-reliance with Sultan Kamal Abdulaziz, the coordinator, Generation for Societal Change, and Mr. Innocent Obasi. We've been discussing national core values, but this time around looking at the need for every Nigerian youth to be self-reliant, and they have been dishing out real-life examples, not just theoretical solutions, but very practical solutions. And I'm really enjoying this conversation. I was just discussing with them off air that there are some people who are just waiting for someone to come give them handout, and when you look at their hand, they might be using the latest iPhone, and then you are asking for money. Imagine using that kind of a phone and you are asking for money. You know, some of these content creators are not even using the best of phones. You know, you give the instance of Mark Angel when they started and everything. I remember their first video, you know, they were not clear. Their videos were not really clear. The picture quality was not even given. But, you know, they had a way of getting into the minds of their target audience, and the rest is history. All right, now, coming back to you, Mr. Obasi, could you just give us an idea of how people, especially the Nigerian youth, could become self-reliant? How can we actualize this journey of self-reliance away from the talks? What about the doing aspect?
The journey of self-reliance starts from a choice. When you make that choice, the first choice you ought to make is this choice to be knowledgeable and skillful. Now, that choice has to do with developing skills and knowledge, going for knowledge. You can only be valuable, your self-reliance will only make sense when you are valuable to people, when you are valuable, when you know what to do, how to do it, and when to do it.
Okay.
If you do not have the knowledge of what to do, when to do it, and how to do it, you are not self-reliant. So it starts from the mind.
Okay.
If you are going to be someone who is self-reliant, then you should be hungry for knowledge. You should go for knowledge as touching any area you want to focus on.
Okay.
Like we were making mention of someone who wants to be a voice artist, voiceover artist. Now, for example, you can't be a competent voiceover artist if you don't have the knowledge. You see that now. So everyone who wants to become self-reliant must learn, must go for knowledge, get materials about what you want to do, about what you want to know, and study it. Become competent in it. What do you know about it? Because you can only do when you know. When you put in, then what you put in can give the results you want to have. But if you don't put in the knowledge, you can't have the results.
Exactly.
So for you to be someone who is self-reliant, you must go for knowledge. It's non-negotiable. You must go for knowledge. That is the first step, I think, and I believe everyone who wants to be self-reliant must go for.
All right. You said something that actually got me. The fact that you said everything starts with a choice. The moment you make that choice, every other thing begins to follow, regardless of the difficulties, regardless of the challenges. Thank you very much, Mr. Obasi. All right, now coming to you, Mr. Abdulaziz, could you just give us an idea into what this journey is? I know that your colleague has said more. I mean, something, but you would also shed more light and also add to what he has said, the insight he's provided for us.
Thank you very much. Just as Mr. Innocent had rightly said, you have to build your knowledge and actually your skill, because you can't pour from an empty cup.
Of course.
In all honesty. And a lot of times people just keep on complaining, and then they end up not even working on themselves.
It's a choice.
It's a choice at the end of the day.
Yes.
So whatever it is you want to do, you have to start by being knowledgeable about that particular thing you're venturing into and building the skill, just as you had mentioned. The next is actually to build your confidence. And why is it important to build your confidence? in all honesty, you cannot basically sell out an idea or a product that you're not confident about.
Of course.
And it would entail that you practicalize, you make mistakes and raise up, knowing that, okay, this is the solution, practical solution to your problems, right? Once you know that, then you'll be confident enough to even be an audience or get audience from people. Let me give you an instance. We come here today to talk about these things because we are a bit confident, right?
Yeah, of what you're selling
Of
out
what
there.
we are selling out, right? We are very confident about what we are selling out. And as individuals, I'm only able to talk to the mic and say the things that I'm saying, because when you see me out there, then maybe some of the things you would be seeing are all of the things that we are preaching at the end of the day,
Yeah.
right? And
Yes.
this didn't just come by chance. It took an intentional attempt to be this way, because I know that I want to be an advocate for change, and we know that it's just a tribe. Nobody was born perfect. Everybody had to make a choice, just as you said,
Yeah.
and follow up with their choices. Gradually, I didn't start by not beating the traffic. They didn't just give birth to me and I said, today I'm not going to beat the traffic because they gave birth to me. I made that choice. And because I saw that it's important and I'm very confident that it works, that's why I'm bringing it up to the radio to say, you know
Yeah.
what, this works. And I have tried it and I'm a living testimony to it. Why not do it? Similarly, our skill sets, after we are built, we have to build confidence by practicalizing, by training our habits, by basically doing everything, right? Then the next choice, we have mentioned it before, right? The next point of action would be for you to practice financial discipline.
Discipline,
I've
very
mentioned
important.
discipline a lot
Yes.
of times. You cannot want to go into business that you haven't even started, that you don't have a dime that you have saved for, and then a latest iPhone 16 that you do not need for the job comes out, and then you want to get that latest iPhone. And you want to dress like maybe Pastor Chris or Apostle Suleiman that you saw, actually with good haircuts, brilliant wristwatch and shoes. Pastor Apostle Suleiman didn't just start by wearing all of those things. He went through a process. And that's why we need to know as youth that everything is a journey.
Yeah.
The people you look and admire and want to be like them, and you just want to spend immediately and hold the latest iPhone because Jay-Z is holding it, or want to wear the next suit that Pastor Chris wore, right? They didn't just get there. They actually practiced financial discipline, right? And it took them years and years of working and progression before they got there. You can't be someone who barely started work and then you want to do just the things that you want to have the same class as them.
Yeah.
How about practice financial dependence? You were given 2,000 naira. You don't need to go to KFC to have your next meal. How about saving the 1,500 and taking 500 naira to Mama Put? Because you know that there's a journey ahead of you, and there's
Exactly.
nobody who will come and dish you this. Just as you have said, if anybody wants to help you, they'll prefer to help you when you're at the act of working.
Yes.
Let them come and meet you doing that work. Let me give you a typical analogy just before maybe I pause for now.
Okay.
A village setting, and every December a very wealthy man comes to the village and he shares grains, but he do not tell you, right, how much grain he is going to give you. So much as you have a container, he will fill up those containers. If you have a sack, he will fill up your sack. If you have baths, he will fill up. You have a tank, he'll fill up that tank. Before December, what will you do? You'd provide more capacity for yourself.
Yes.
You'd basically gather every container that you will gather. Similarly, that's how self-reliance is. You have to build that skill. You have to get to that point of capacity that when your blessing comes, then it would be a downpour and it would be excessive. But if you go with a small container, nobody would. He'll just give you what you need at that point, right?
Yeah.
Anybody who would help you already sees it from what you are doing, right? If you come with a 5,000 naira budget because your dream is not big enough, and he doesn't see the way you would even manage 5 million if he gives you, he would not waste his money and give you 5 million naira because you won't know how to make use of it.
Exactly.
You can't manage poverty if you can't manage wealth. Vice versa, you can't manage wealth if you do not know how to manage poverty.
Wow, I think you guys are throwing bars left and right, and I must really say that the listeners out there are getting not just enlightened but also motivated by what you are saying, because in this era where a lot of things are just going the way they are going, it's very important that you have something to fall back on, because everyone has their problem, right? So at the end of the day, you cannot keep expecting that people should come help you. At least be at the point of the journey, and then someone will just be there to meet you and possibly help you. All right, we've spoken about the need for young people to be self-reliant in our country, but there are certain challenges that are impeding the quest for this self-reliance. And I think that you would agree that from the observation so far, you would see that sense of entitlement seems to be top of some of these factors standing against the need for young people to be self-reliant, and also looking at that lack of contentment, or I would say the zeal to just be there. I know you said something about the quest. There is nothing wrong in you striving, right? I'm this kind of person. I believe that sometimes contentment is injurious, because when you are contented, you may not strive. But it's kind of dicey. Because one way you have to be contented, but the other way you also have to be motivated to be better. But somehow I think most of the youth, I hope I do not get stoned for this, but okay, let's just say some young people not feel very contented, and they just want to, or should I say, lack of choosing what matters at this point, having a scale of preference that this is what should be now. You could see a student would want to use the latest phones, have the latest wigs and everything, the latest collection of shoes, and you're still just a student. Why not invest that money in something? So what are some of those challenges, apart from the ones that I've mentioned, or you could even build on that to talk to us on some of those challenges that you feel are standing in the way of young people being on that journey of self-reliance?
Okay, let me start with the sense of entitlement. No one goes far being entitled. Feeling entitled, you would remain poor, you will remain slow, you will remain beggarly for the rest of your life. Waiting for arms, waiting for people to come to your rescue as though it is your right. You are in trouble. Believe me, you are in trouble. You can't go far that way.
Okay.
People who really go far, because when you see that, when you feel entitled, when you are expecting arms from people, you never make the move to go out of your way to get things for yourself. You don't. You always sit in your comfort zone waiting for people to bring things to you, and at the end of the day, they end up not bringing those things to you. For example, some young people, unfortunately till date, are still, some have stayed for 10 years, 20 years, still waiting for government jobs. Unfortunately, it is the reality. Some feel entitled. Okay, I am a graduate, I expect to have a job and all of this. While some of them, their mates, after school, there was no job, but they made a choice by themselves to go out to work, to go out to find something to become valuable, so that people can reward them. So it's a choice, but the other person feels entitled. I'm a Nigerian, Nigeria has to take care of me, and all of that. You see that now, because they feel entitled. So when they are entitled, they don't think it is necessary, they don't see the need to go out to find something for themselves to work, because they expect something to come to them. So entitlement mentality kills dreams, kills potentials within people, because they don't want to go out of their comfort zone to work, to gain knowledge, to be self-reliant. Then the second one you made mention of, what was that second one you made mention
The
of?
fact that contentment, talk about
Contentment.
Yes,
Now here wisdom has to be applied.
yes.
Wisdom really has to be applied here. Now, contentment, when we talk about contentment, it is the aspect where you would say that a person should know when to spend, how to spend, what to get, when to get it.
Yes.
If you are able to afford it and not feel pained, or if you should go for an alternative choice and make investments in other places. For example, you said something, someone who maybe you're not making so much, or you don't have a job, you don't have a work you are doing,
Yes.
and you're looking for the latest iPhone, for example. You see, that is not wisdom, that is not financial intelligence. You see that now, because you're looking for something more than your capacity. That is foolishness. But being contented with what you have at that point means that, okay, you have a little Android phone, you can be using that Android phone for now while you are paying for knowledge, investing in materials that you will read to get more knowledge, instead of getting all of that funds and buying an iPhone. It's not wise. So you have to be contented with the Android you have while you invest in other things. Now, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't grow. This is where the wisdom comes in. This is another side of it, to balance it. That doesn't mean you shouldn't grow. Being contented doesn't mean you should plateau at a level.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
you should always be growth. Your mindset should be growth. You need to grow, you need to scale. So whatever you are doing, no matter how small you start, no matter how disciplined you start, it is good. But have the growth mindset. There is always a higher version of you.
Yes.
There is always a higher version of the business you're doing. There is always a higher version of the skill you have. When you start out small, let me be honest with you, when you start out small, there are a caliber of people that can reward you. When you keep growing, kings start coming to what you are doing, start wanting to reward you. So that growth is important. So contentment, when you start, be diligent with the little you have. Don't go for something that is going to end up killing you at the end. You see that?
Yes.
But always have the growth mindset,
Yeah.
that you can always increase. Don't plateau at a level. That is what I would say for this too.
Yes, wisdom is profitable to direct, because at the end of the day, as much as contentment is being preached here, it's important for you to know when to match the break.
Yes.
It's important for you to know when you are settling for less, or
Yes.
basically not even going out there or pushing yourself to
Yes.
what you should be
Yes.
or who you should be, especially as regards self-reliance.
Yes.
Well, I do not know. Our time is really fast spent, but we still have a couple of minutes that we could squeeze in to just give a summary, or basically call to action as to why young people, especially in our clime, why they need to imbibe this culture or this sense of self-reliance.
All right, thank you very much. I'll go in no particular order.
All right.
And I'll introduce a new angle to the conversation.
Please go
before I
ahead. Go ahead.
Africans, Nigerians, we suffer from something that is called the black tax.
Okay.
And
Yes.
the black tax is basically a sense of responsibility to your family, to your loved ones, and a lot of other people
Yes.
that are surrounding
Yes.
you. Not because they do not have two legs and two hands, not because they cannot go out there and take care of themselves, but it's a system that we are so much soaked in
Yes.
that, okay, I just start making a few bucks, and I
have
know
to
there's a
take care of
grandmother
Yeah, you
there
have to send
I
money
have to
home.
take care of. Yes.
Yes.
That thing is one of the reasons why Nigeria haven't progressed yet. Because you know why? You are not even thinking about yourself and how to build on what it is you are making or earning,
Yes.
and see how you can be financially disciplined to build an empire that everybody would benefit from.
Yeah.
Now let me use another analogy in this explanation, and the analogy is that of me and Innocent, for instance, were given 2 eggs, right?
Yeah.
And when we were given 2 eggs, Innocent decided to eat his. I was patient. I deliberately became patient to keep mine
Ate
so
yours
it can
when
hash.
he didn't eat his own.
Right, I didn't eat mine. And then mine hashed. And then a chick came out of it.
Yeah.
I was also still patient. I didn't eat egg, but you felt good about yourself because you had your
At that
egg.
time,
right?
immediate
At that time.
gratification.
I now have a chick. and it grew up to become a hen. And that hen has the capability of laying more eggs.
Of course.
Maybe 10 eggs. And after it hatches, now I have a decision. I still have the choice to be able to pick 2 eggs and give Innocent one. Innocent still decides to eat one of that egg, and I eat one. I have 8 more eggs, right?
This Innocent you're talking
If
about.
I decide
the same
to
one?
still be patient, if I
Yeah.
decide to still be patient, then that egg will turn into chicks, and those chicks will lay me more eggs. Now you see, I have built an empire, and I'm able to take care of everybody. Meanwhile, Innocent will be striving to come and get one more egg for me. Why? Because I have not helped him. I've been giving him eggs so that he can eat. But I didn't tell him that he needed to be disciplined. He needed to be patient.
Yes.
Right? Now, this is what the black tax does to the mind of many. Instead of you telling someone the truth
Yes.
and asking him to go out there and work on himself and become self-reliant, because each and every one of us in this world, right, is deposited set of innate potential that is peculiar to just you.
Yes.
So what that means is you have a uniqueness. I never grew up. I lacked self-esteem. I lacked confidence. I couldn't even say a word to an individual, talk more of speaking to a crowd, or now talking in the radio. But I took an intentional attempt, step by step, on the radio, in front of my mirror and
just
everything.
kept on.
I kept on, and today I could call myself an orator if I decide to, because I know that for where I am headed, I needed this skill set, and I became more patient. Now, this skill set can actually also fetch you a lot of money. If you decide to be an MC, fine and good. If I want to use my beautiful voice, just like Cassandra's, to talk on the radio, right? I will. If I want to do a lot of things, I mean, even in certain spaces and government places, they need someone with this kind of experience. Then you have become valuable, right? And you would be sorted for. But once you do not build yourself, once you do not add this value to yourself, then trust me, nobody would search for you, right? Everybody has a degree. Everybody has something in him. But it is that person who takes a step further and showcase what he has that the universe would be more, what do they call it? Fair, basically, and favorable to. So I would urge each and every listener, each and every Nigerian, to imbibe these core values, because it's our way forward, especially in the current disposition of things.
Wow, that's like, I do not even know what to say, but like, he that has ears should listen, and you've said so much. It's quite motivational, not just motivational, but very inspiring. The fact that you've taken out time to break this down, and the average Nigerian will definitely listen, we hope, because there is so much that we can achieve if only we put our mind to it, and that is what you've been able to achieve on the program this afternoon, and we cannot appreciate you less. We thank you so much for coming on the program this afternoon to shed light on this. I would assume that was your summary, even more than a summary, so I will just give the chance to Mr. Obasi to give us a bit of a summary just in a minute.
All right. I would like to say this for every Nigerian listening. Self-reliance is very important. You made mention of what of a young Nigerian who doesn't know where to start, doesn't know what to do, does not have resources. What I would advise is this: go for relationships, build relationships. Being self-reliant, remember we talked about having skills, and one of those skills can be how to build relationships. Now, when you build relationships, no matter how broke you are, no matter how bad your bank account is, if you build the right relationships, you can have somebody who can give you an idea or lend you a little help somewhere that will kickstart your journey. So build relationships. That is a commodity. That is a currency. Build relationships. There is no way you will build relationships and you tell me everybody in your life, there is nobody who, if let's say you don't have anything to your name and there is nobody in your life who can help you. No, build relationships. That is one. Two, go for knowledge. Go for knowledge. Go for knowledge. Go for knowledge. You can't do past.
Yeah.
You can't do past your belief system. You can't do past your mindset. You can't do past your understanding. You can't do past the knowledge you have.
All right.
You see, we are a reflection of our thought systems. We are a reflection of our belief systems. We are a reflection of our mindset. So, the more you know, the more you earn. The more you know, the more you can be valuable. The more you know, the more you can be self-reliant. But the less you know, the more you will struggle. You see that? So please go for knowledge. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Obasi and Mr. Kamal, for coming right here on the program to shed light once again on the very important things that matter, not just to our personal development, but also our national development as a country. And we appreciate you so much for doing this with us. And one thing you said, that even if I forget any other thing, I would always remember, is the fact that you have projected the fact that life is a choice.
Yes.
And life begins when you make a choice. So whatever it is that you want to do, be very intentional about it, because life has a way of boomeranging. Because whatever you're doing today is just like an investment. You made mention of black tax. I really wish I had time so that we'll talk about this, but I'm hoping that one day we shall discuss that and how it is impeding on the journey of young people being self-reliant, even when they are doing so well in our continent or even in our country. Thank you so much for coming. We appreciate you, and we hope that next week we even be better right here on radio. Thank you very much. All right, dear listener, there you have it. It is what it is. The gospel has been preached. It is left for you and I to do what we need to do, to not just be self-reliant to our individual selves, but also to our country, Nigeria, so that we can be valuable, so that we can be productive, because it takes a collective responsibility to make Nigeria what it is, so that it will be functional. Yes, we are not without challenges, but there is a step that we must take, and that has to do with you and I, our individuality. What are we doing what are you doing in your corner to ensure that you also contribute not just to your self-development but to national development? This is one question I'm leaving to you this afternoon. Thank you so much for staying till this moment, and do not forget, this is Eagles 102.3 FM Abuja. From one good moment to another, right here on the Media Extra Show with Cassandra, your media chief. Please stay tuned, as you will be enjoying a round of way back music. Remember, it's Way Back Wednesday right here on radio, and we shall be bringing all of that nostalgic feeling later right here on radio. So please stay tuned and have a wonderful time listening.